Hey everybody, it's Scott here from Asperia Fitness Center. I'm recording mobility and more for you guys today. So we're going to step right back behind me and get to it. I'll demo some exercises quickly throughout the clip, and I'll tell you what we need for class, and we'll get going. So we're going to come right back here and get started. You guys have to bear with me today. I do have an incurable case of the hiccups, so I'm trying to talk through that. So please bear with me if you hear me briefly break up in between my sentence. I'm coming right back to it. So we're going to start today. Of course, we need our mat. We're going to get some mobility work. I have some dumbbells off to my side here. I've got one heavier dumbbell, and I do have a small light pair of dumbbells. So we want to keep those pretty light. Mine are 8 pounds. We're just doing a little bit of mobility type work for the shoulders and stuff with that. So don't want to go too heavy overweight. And of course, you can always hold on just to cans or water bottles or something for some just light resistance that we'll need for that. The heavy dumbbell I have is 20, so if you've got one that's 12, 15, 20 pounds that you want to use, or a kettlebell or anything else that will work just great for that. I've also got a bench back here. We will be seated for just a few exercises, so you can always sit on your ottoman or a coffee table or anything you have. The height doesn't matter too much, so just grab whatever you've got. And of course I have my water bottle and a sweat towel. We might work up a little sweat, so make sure you can wipe that sweat and replenish your hydration with the water bottle. I've also got a yoga block with me. You could use a foam roller. We're only going to probably use that for one exercise. So if you don't have anything, you can make it work. If you've got something that we can put, we're going to lay on it and put it right in between shoulder blades right there. So you could even smash up a small throw pillow or roll up a towel and fold it up a couple times to give you just a little bit of elevation on your backside when we're laying down. So other than that, we're going to start. We got our kind of dynamic warm-up. We'll start a few exercises for the first segment. We're going to do each movement for 1 minute. We have about 15 or 20 seconds to transition into the next one. Then we'll go down the line, and then we've got our workout block towards the end where we'll add a little bit of resistance in with those dumbbells and such to get a little bit of strength after we get our dynamic mobility going. So we're going to take it away. We're just going to start with 10 big arm circles each direction, and so we're going to do that one arm at a time. So make sure we get a nice big full range of motion there. Nine, and one more. We'll switch directions, stay on that same arm. Last 2, 9, and 10. We're going to switch arms here. So these are just some very light stuff. We're starting with our arms and hips before we move into our mobility block. So just get these arm circles in. No timer on this here at all. So just going through this motion. Big arcs with the shoulder. Hey, 2 more, 9 and 10. So we're working on our hips now. We did our arm circles in each direction, and we're doing the hip motion. And we call this one over the fence. Then what we do here, acts like we're just stepping over the fence, right, or a baby gate. So let's do 1 there, and we're going to come back here. So we got to do 20 total because we'll get each direction. So there's 1, 2, or we can just look at it as 10. There's number 3 each direction. So let's just say here's number 4. And then bring that back for 4, 5, just like that. You can count every rep individually if you'd like. Well, we want to come up to our high knee portion there, rotate it out, and then drop your foot. Got 3 more on there. We'll say that was 7. Here's number 8, 9, all the way back for 9 and 10. Last one, opening that hip up wide, so we should start to feel our hips and groin releasing a little bit. Here we're going to do the same thing on the other side. We got to get 10 rep and back, or you can count to 20 each direction as a rep. We'll just count our 1 up and over and then come back as 1 rep. So there's 1, 2, 4. So we really want to open up, drive the knee up and open it up, and then close it, reverse all the way back, so we get a lot of that rotation and movement in the hip joint there as best you can. Work our way all the way out. We got 2 more. And the last one, open it up and bring it back over. Okay, we're gonna get our timer out now and start here. So we got everything for a minute. We'll have a quick transition in between each one, 15 or 20 seconds. I'm not gonna demo the whole line, there's quite a bit, so we're just gonna go through the motions, follow along with me. To pick up that next exercise, we're gonna start with our calves and do some heel pumps to get our ankles a little bit loose. So you can use a wall or a table or a countertop. I'm gonna lean on my bench or my box here, just so you guys can see my body position. I'm actually a little bit low here. You'd ideally be a little bit more elevated, but whatever you got works just fine. And so for this minute, we're just gonna alternate driving heels down into the ground and pumping up onto your toes. So just going through, really trying to drive the heel into the ground. Feel that stretch along our calves, and then of course we're rolling the opposite foot up onto your toes to get a little bit of flexion in the ankles there. But we got a minute to go. We're gonna start that timer right now. So lean up on your wall, your countertop, or whatever you got. We've got our minute started here, so we're lean forward. We're driving heel back down into the ground, so we should feel that deep stretch on the leg that the heel is driving down into the ground. And so spend a good second or two pushing that heel down, just working on a slow pump through the heel there. Starting to feel a stretch, feel a little bit of action at the ankle, on the front of the ankle as we come up into that, onto the toe position there. And we're just gonna keep alternating, driving this in, pressing that heel against the ground, starting to warm up our lower body and get these ankles alive a little bit here. So we got about 20 seconds left. Keep alternating those heel pumps, nice and slow. Don't need to go at any particular speed here. Just working on stretching out the back of the leg. Less than 10 seconds to go here. And we're gonna stay up on our feet for the next one. We're just moving down this line. All right, so there's our break. Just one nice long beat for us there. We're gonna go into a forward toe touch. Then we're gonna sink our hips down into a squat. So what that looks like is we reach down to our toes as close as we can get, and we're gonna sit our hips down and then bring our hips back up and reverse the whole movement. So good stretch on the hamstrings, opening up our hips a little bit. So there we go. So we reach down toward the toes, shooting our hips back, big stretch on the hamstrings there, and then we just sit our hips back, down towards our heels. Then we lift our glutes, our hips, and we stand back up. So we're doing kind of like a three-part motion. We go down to the toes, sit down, hips back up, and start back to the top. So it's really 4 positions almost, right? So starting to feel a good stretch in the hamstrings, working on the ankles a little bit as we sit our hips down into that squat. A little bit of everything, getting a nice lower body stretch, mobility here in this movement. So really reaching down toward the toes, trying to keep those knees as straight as we can. Then we sit into that squat as low as we can go and reverse all the way back up to the top here. 10 seconds or so, so we got 1 or 2 more all the way through. Let's get 1 more. And so we're reaching down toward the toes, sit the hips down, and come all the way back up. We got 2 seconds, just in time to finish at the top here. So really good work on the hamstrings there, should be feeling loose in the hips. So we're gonna grab anything you've got, a light dumbbell or your heavier dumbbell. We don't need the dumbbell yet. We're gonna just keep our body weight here. We're gonna take a wide base here, and we're gonna work on just shifting our weight here. You can have a dumbbell or a weight up at your chin if you'd like. No need for it. And we're just gonna do our wide squat position, and we're just shifting our weight to each side so we feel a nice stretch. Still working on opening up the hips and groin area a little here, where we have especially good stretch all along the inside of our straight leg as we shift from side to side. So we're gonna work on really opening up this squat position. And then we'll build on that by adding some squats in, of course, in our workout block later on. But we're still just in that wide base, shifting our position here, side to side, feeling that stretch on the groin, inner thighs, hips opening up a little bit here. We've got about 12 seconds, 1 or 2 more shifts to each side. Starting to feel that inner thigh wake up, our adductor muscles there a little bit. We got 3 seconds. Last one, and back to center. Great. Okay, we're gonna take our seat now. So if you've got your coffee table or a chair, anything you've got to sit on, again, the height doesn't matter. We're just standing right here. We're gonna do some extensions of our mid-back. We're doing this prisoner style. So we got our fingers locked in behind our head like we're under arrest, right? And we're gonna bring our elbows in, and then we're just gonna go driving those elbows up to the sky and then down to the ground. Feeling a nice extension, hopefully, in between the shoulder blades at that thoracic spine or mid-back. Keeping the elbows tucked as best you can, driving them up to the sky and then down to the floor, getting a little rounding in the back, and then really driving them up to extend. So working on some of that thoracic extension. We might feel pretty tight here, seated a lot with shoulders rounded forward. It gets our mid-back really tight. So hopefully we're really able to drive those elbows up and create a little bit of that extension in the mid-back, our spinal cord right in between our shoulder blades there. So 12 seconds to go. Get one or two more good ones, driving those elbows way up to the sky, tuck them down, push them way up. Last one here, starting to feel a little bit looser in our mid-back there. So go ahead and roll shoulders out if we need to. We're gonna stay right here in the seated position. And now we're just gonna do an opposite reach, so we're still getting some of that T-spine worked out a little bit here. So we're gonna just twist the shoulder, so drop that back shoulder back, and we're reaching up over with the other arm. So and we're just gonna alternate those reaches here. So we're getting some rotation in the T-spine, in our core, trying to keep our hips square here. We're just reaching up, stretching that lat a little bit on our outside of our body as well. Lots of stuff at work here, so working on twisting as best you can if we're limited on our range of motion. Something to work on, that T-spine region there. And of course, we might be able to twist farther to one side than the other. And that's just an imbalance that we might have. It's very common, it's okay. Just want to focus on trying to even that out if we can. So we got 20 seconds to go here. We're just still driving that top hand up and across, driving the shoulder back on that opposite side to get some of that rotation in our mid-back and spine there. Just a few seconds to go. Keep reaching, keep twisting that torso and core. And we're gonna stay right in this position for one more similar movement, and we're really gonna focus on just the core twist now. So elbows out at our side. We were reaching before, getting a little stretch here, and now we're just gonna focus on driving that elbow back on our lead side to get the rotation in our trunk here and our torso. So we're gonna run right there, elbows are up to our side, and we're just really focused on twisting and driving to that side. So on that side we lead with, I'm leading with my left elbow, really forcing the elbow back as far as I can go. Feeling that rotation in our core, especially still in that mid-back T-spine region. We're getting a really nice warm up and mobility portion of our T-spine here. So hopefully if you were really tight to start, you feel like we're waking up a little bit, getting a little bit more range of motion with every twist, really focused on standing up tall, sitting up tall rather, and driving that elbow back, keeping our shoulders pretty square as we twist our whole torso. 10 seconds to go. We've got a couple more twists each side, and we're going to give our mid-back a break and go back to those hips a little bit here. So we are going to hit our mats next, down in our tabletop position. We call this our frog stretch. This will be familiar for most. We're going to be sinking back onto our heels, but we've got our hips and knees really wide. So as we sit back, we feel a deep stretch on the hips and inner thigh there. So and we're just going to keep working through. I'm going to turn to be parallel with my mat here, but we're just working through sitting back on those heels as best you can, exploring that range of motion in the hips, and we lean back forward and just sitting back onto those heels. And of course we've still got that, we'll turn back this way here, we've still got that really wide base at the knee, so when we sink back we feel a deep stretch. Mostly on the inner thigh, but we'll get a lot of our hips stretched out this way. So sink back as far as you can and then reset it. As you sit back, make sure to exhale. We can breathe all that air out. Feeling a big stretch all across our hips, inner thigh, outside of the hips, everywhere here. We got 12 seconds, one or two more. Sit back onto those heels, wide knees, 5 seconds. We got time for one more. Blowing all that air out. Sit back and back to our tabletop position to relax. We're going to keep going down the line. We're going to lay on our side next here. And so for this, we're in our side lying position, and we are going to be thumbs down, and we're just going to make big arc circles all the way up as far as we can go and back to center here for that minute. So there's our timer. So we got our start with our thumb down. We're drawing a big circle up and over. Follow your thumb with your hand or your eyes. Rotating back as far as we can go. Trying to keep that other arm down on the floor. Go all the way back, thumbs down the whole time, really close it up. So really great stretch, warming up, mobilizing our top side shoulder, rotator cuff muscles, getting a good stretch as well as our pecs here. So keep driving that shoulder back over the top, thumb stays down as best you can, keeping that arc as wide as you can, as big as you can, all the way up and over, and closing that arc once you get to the top, all the way back. We got time for one more arc. Keep that shoulder. Good. We're going to go ahead and flip on over. Same thing on the other arm now. So I'll reverse my direction on the mat for those watching me on the video. But we're back in our side lying position. This arm's going to stay on the mat. We've got thumbs down here. And we're drawing that big arc up and around all the way as best you can go and closing it back up. So trying to rotate the top side shoulder, make sure that thumb stays down, and we're closing up the arc. Keeping the thumb as close to the floor as you can. That's really going to work on the stretch across the top shoulder. All those rotator cuff muscles, those pec muscles, everything attaching to our shoulder. We have a lot going on in the shoulder, so this will hit a lot of different movements. Just making sure we keep that thumb down. Follow up over the top. You turn your head to the other side and back. Really feeling the shoulder work hard on this one here. If we have any pinching, don't force it past the pinch. If you can make it just past a little bit of discomfort, do so. But if we're having any pinching, shooting pain, anything like that, we do want to stop as that we may be rolling over a nerve that's causing some of that discomfort. So one more arc all the way up and around and close back up to the starting position. So we're feeling those shoulders starting to wake up now. We're going to continue moving down the line. We're at this point, we're going to pause our timer just a minute. We are going to want our yoga block or your foam roller, anything you've got. We're going to put this right in between our shoulder blades. Again, you could use a throw pillow, bunch up some towels or some clothes. We just want a little bit of space off the ground. And of course, if you don't have anything, we can still make this work. But I'm sure you guys can grab something light, small, that you can work with and put that right in between the shoulder blades there. So we are just going to, all we're doing is going to lay on that just like so. And we're going to do arms out to the side. So we're really going to get a deep stretch on our chest from this position. So we do want to have that a little bit of extra space so that we can let our palms hang. The back of our hand should hang a little bit so we can really get that deep stretch on the chest. And from here, we're just going to do some nice Pec Angels, like we're making a snow angel. We're just going to start at the top. Palm should stay up toward the ceiling the whole time. And we're just making a nice arcing movement. We're going to bring our timer back in. So just a few seconds before we hear that beep to start the round. And we're just going to do some angels here. So upper body, just stretching out our chest and pecs. If you feel a really tight spot throughout that arc, you can just sit there, let those arms hang on that tight spot for just a second. Other than that, we're just working through that slow range of motion, that whole arc, feeling tightness and relaxing. If you get to that tight spot, you just go through it really slow, let that hands hang, let the back of your hands, that's why you want a little bit of elevation. You can let those arms hang and get a good stretch on the chest. If we're not feeling any tight spots in particular, just go ahead and continue that nice slow arc all the way up and down. We will get some good movement in our pec muscles this way. Even if we're not feeling particularly tight anywhere, still a great stretch for those chest muscles and our pecs. Working through that big arc range of motion as best you can. Explore that whole arc. 10 seconds to go. One or two more up and down all the way. And there's our break from the Pec Angels. So keep that out to the side. That's all we needed from our block today. So we're gonna come into our half kneeling position just for 2 rounds. So double that mat over if we need to. And we're gonna do a 3-way kind of half lunge here, hip opener. So we're gonna start out forward. So from here we step out, we lean into that. We're feeling a stretch on the groin there, and then we step to the side. So now we're going at about a 45-degree angle. And then lastly, we open that hip all the way up, keeping our toe pointed that direction. And we're just gonna keep going all the way through that, back and forth. So we did our side, now we're back to the top, and we're keeping this downside glute squeezed as best we can so we feel that stretch on the hip flexor. But we got those 3 positions. Straight to the front, about a 45-degree angle, and then out wide, and we're just exploring those range of motion. Should feel nice and stretchy on the inner thigh. Again, on the groin, hip flexors, that stuff we've been working on for the hips there. Still working on just opening these hips up. So less than 20 seconds to go. Just working through that range of motion as best we can on the legs in each position. Feeling a stretch. 10 seconds. Let's make it one more time down through and maybe back to the top here. Out to the side, way out to the side. 45 degrees again. And right at the top we started, where we started there. So same thing on the other leg. Back into that other half kneeling position. Folding the mat or putting something under our knee if we need to. We're starting straight out. This glute is squeezed on my downside knee, so we have some extension at the hip for our hip flexor. And we're just going through those same range of motion here, so we can step into it a little bit straight forward. Feel a good stretch there. Then we're going to go out at about a 45-degree angle, and then we go all the way out wide. Notice my toe is pointing this way, and then we sink to that. And we're just going to keep working through those 3 points, all the way up to the top again, back out. Check this glute, squeeze it if you need to, poke it. Feel like we're keeping that contracted to keep our hip in a good position there to get a good stretch on this downside knee. So keep working through this best you can. We're just over halfway. Adjust if we need to, but we are just sinking in all 3 of these angles, really working on an efficient way to open up the hips in all these different planes of motion that our hips will go through. 12 seconds to go. We're going to make it through once more out here. Just a few more left in our dynamic warm-up portion, and we'll go ahead and take it away into our strength block. Last one there, and we are done with that one. Awesome job. We're feeling these hips really loose now. We've got 2 more here. Staying in this half kneeling position. If you need to stack that mat or adjust your knee, you can do so. From here, we're taking 2 different positions. And we're just going to be in this position first, and we fold down forward for the first half of this minute. We're just going to be folded. We can push out on the hip and extend that hip a little bit over here, externally rotate that hip. We may feel some pinching or some tightness in the joint. Then for the second half, we're going to twist up and get a full body stretch in all the way, opening up that rest of the way. So you're going to hear this round start in about 5 seconds with our beep. So we're going to first just hinge forward. So we want to go for knuckles or palms flat on the ground here. So we get to this position, we're at knuckles right now, and that's okay. And if you can get all the way to flat palms, that's great. From here, we can take this hand and open up the hip from the knee there as best we can. Feeling a good stretch on the back of your hip, especially if we're tight here, as this knee opens up. And in 10 seconds, we're gonna take this hand that's on my knee and go straight up to the sky with it. So walk that foot into a good position if we're feeling a stretch there. Final 30 seconds on this position. So now our hand goes up to the sky, and we're really opening up our hip again as well. We feel that big stretch on the back of our hip. Keep focusing on driving this knee out. Even though we're not pushing it anymore, we can still pull that knee out a little bit and feel that stretch on the back of our hip. So 12 seconds to go here. We're still pushing that hip out, pushing the knee out, and we're twisted up to the sky on the top. So we're really opening up that whole side of our body there. 4, 3, 2, and 1. We're gonna close it all the way back up. So bring that palm back down, bring your leg in. Hopefully you felt that stretching on the inside of the hip there. So we're switching our position back here. Other side knee here. It's our last one for this dynamic warm-up portion. Then we've got our exercise block to go through here, a few rounds. So we're gonna go ahead and get right back to it here. So we're next round started here. So we're knuckles or palms to the ground, whatever you can get. Hopefully you can get all the way to those palms down. And then take that other hand up and really work on driving that knee outward. So we're pushing my knee this way, feeling a stretch all in the back of my hip, lower back there. And we're gonna bring that hand up to the sky in about 10 seconds. So feel how that hip is stretching, drive that knee out. We're gonna think about still pushing that knee out. Hand is gonna go up in 3, 2, 1, and we are gonna twist. So now we've got a lot of action all over our body. Hips are twisting, torso and thoracic spine we've been working on are twisted up there. So we're still focused on driving this knee out as best you can, opening up the hips. 15 seconds left. We've got that arm still way up in the air, holding on as best you can. Lots of rotation and stretching in our spine and hips everywhere. Less than 10 seconds. We're going to slowly close that up and then we'll start our strength block here. 2, 1, and come on back down to the middle here. So just go ahead and slowly relax that. We are going to switch our timer over. That is all we had for our dynamic warm-up opener. So hopefully we're feeling nice and loose. And from here, we're going to go into our workout block. So as I adjust my timer here, we are going to get 8 exercises. So we want those dumbbells close by. We'll alternate between our light pair of dumbbells and our one single heavy item. So please get those ready to go. We've got 45 seconds, kind of our classic exercise timer. 45 seconds, 15-second transition between each exercise. We are going to start up on our feet today. And we've got our traditional long beep that we've been working with for the timer. So we're going to start with our heavy dumbbell, and we've got a squat. We've been working really hard to open up our hips today and get that bottom portion of our squat really loose. So we've got this heavy dumbbell, or any one that you've got, whatever one works for you. We're going to hold it like this. So when we squat down, we're getting into that low portion of our squat. We've worked on opening up our hips a lot, and we're going to do a press out at the bottom, and that's going to force us to really work on opening up those hips and spending a lot of time in that bottom portion that we've just been working on. So hopefully we can achieve that nice depth, and we're going to work on a pause for the strengthening portion as we press out in that bottom portion where we've worked on that strength. So go ahead and grab a quick drink if you need to. We're going to start our workout block. Nothing crazy here, so I will just demo the exercises straight down the list as we go. But we're ready to go. We're going to start with that squat with the press out. So we're really owning that bottom portion of the squat on the press out movement there. So we're ready to go. Clock ticks in 3, 2, 1, and go. So we are ready to go. We are squatting with that weight under our chin. So as we sink down, we're really feeling all those hips that we just worked on opening up, and then we're going to press it out and come back to the top. So feeling those hips work hard, all of our stretching and mobility we just did should allow us to sink nice and low into that full squat there. And then we're pressing out, keeping our shoulders working here as well. As we sink down, we need a little bit of extension in our T-spine that we've also been working on stretching out today. So hopefully you've got this range of motion to work with. We're going to do a couple rounds, so you may feel like it improves throughout the round as well. Hopefully it will. Really just working on the deep squat portion there. There's our break. So we're going to transition to our light dumbbells, and I mean pretty light. I've got 8 pounds here, and we're going to do a variation of a shoulder raise called scaption, where we start with the dumbbells like so, right here, and we're lifting up in a V position to about eye level, and then they come back down to the middle, so just like that. Really good work for our shoulder blades and rotator cuff, all that T-spine that we just worked on warming up. So we start with the dumbbells a little closer by our waist, and as they raise up, we're in our scapular plane, and our arms should be making a nice V position from our chest out to those dumbbells. At about 45 degrees off our torso is ideal. It's harder than you might think, so make sure you got those light dumbbells or something really light you can hold on to. Up into that V and back down to our position at the hips. Just 1 or 2 more reps left while our time is ticking, and we'll come back to those. So keep mastering that V position. We are going to keep our lighter dumbbells, and we're going down onto our mat, and we've got our floor press with a squeeze working on our chest. So the idea here is to squeeze those dumbbells together as we go through our full press range of motion here. So the weight doesn't matter as much as just working on Pressing those dumbbells together, keeping really high tension on our chest muscles, and working through that full range of motion that we've got with the chest there. So keep squeezing palms together as best you can. If you've just got one dumbbell, you can press your palms together on the dumbbell heads. Just trying to keep that internal pressure, pushing palms towards each other, and we're just working slowly through the range of motion. We will feel fatigue in the chest. The weight is not too important as we do just keep that tension really tight. So keep pressing palms together. There it is, there's our break. That time went quick. We gotta keep moving. We're gonna switch to our heavy dumbbell, where we're gonna do our pullover with a dumbbell sit up. So we gotta get a heavy weight, a little bit of core action here. So we start this way, and we're gonna do a pullover to right about there, and then sit up. So whatever's easiest for you to sit up, legs might be extended out farther is gonna be the best way. However you're comfortable doing that, we sit up. So we extend till that dumbbell touches, keep a soft bend at your elbow, pulling it over to about halfway, and then we sit up. So a little bit of core and back training here for this one. Just 15 seconds to go. Keeping our core tight the whole time, especially on that overhead extension. We're gonna get one more extension tap for our break, and there's our transition. We're gonna stay right where we are. You can have a light dumbbell in your hand if you'd like. We're gonna keep that for a bridge position here, right on our hips. We're gonna do a bridge, but we're gonna march. So you probably will want a really light weight, or maybe none at all. So for here, we're gonna hold this bridge, and we're gonna drive our knee up on each leg, alternating. So working on strength at the hips and core, but we're also getting a little more motion in our hips from the marching portion. If this is tough, we're just going to keep bridging. Take out that march if you want to modify out, but hopefully we can get some movement in our hips, training a little bit of hip flexor here, as well as hamstrings, glutes, core, all the good training that we get from our classic bridge here. So toss the weight if it starts to fatigue your bridge. You don't even have to have the weight if you don't want to. Just working on marching away during that bridge. So we're going to keep going. We will need no dumbbells at all for our next exercise. Tall plank with a step in. So we're just in our classic tall plank position here, like so. So we're going to keep getting some chest and shoulders, but we're just going to alternate a wide step in up to your side. So hips are going to work hard. Still exploring all that new range of motion we just were working on, training the hips. Nice and slow here we are on the timer, so no worry about the rep count. Just stepping as far as we can. Nice and steady, keeping our core tight. Again, we're really exploring that range of motion we just have worked on with our hips. So 12 seconds to go. We will be on our feet for the next one. You'll need something to lean up on. Hopefully a wall or a counter that you can have close by. There's our break. 2 more exercises. We'll restart at the top for a few more rounds, but we're going to go into something we can lean on, the wall, countertop, anything you've got, and we're going to lean on our heels. So pressure's in our heels here, leaned up against the wall, and we're raising toes up off the ground. This is a tibialis raise. We're training the front of our legs. These are often overlooked in our lower body training, so they will fatigue pretty easily, so take time to recover if you need to. Already about halfway through the round, but it's tougher than you think. Working on those front shin muscles. This is a big muscle that runs right along our shin bone. Very important for our ankle function and often overlooked, like I said. So staying on our heels, raising the toes up off the ground. Starting to feel a little fatigue. We got 5 seconds to go. 1 or 2 more reps here. Front of the shins are fatiguing. It's a easy to fatigue muscle there. They don't get too much training. So our last one, we are in our bent over position. We have our light dumbbells again. And we're going to do a row, extending out into a fly, and then reversing the whole thing, resetting the whole thing. So we're in our bent over position here, light dumbbells, so we row, and then we're going to press all the way out to the side, and and then let our arms hang. So we really want light dumbbells here. It's going to be tough. So this is a really unique way to train our shoulders and back. The longer we extend our arms, the tougher it will be. So find that sweet spot for you. You can have a little bend in the elbow as well, but we want to get a big squeeze in the shoulder blades. Push those dumbbells way out to the side, and then let your arms hang. So reset your hinge position if we need to, if we start to fatigue. We should have a lot of load in the hamstrings, so we're getting those stretched out as well as the big squeeze in the shoulder blades. Push the weights out, and then start in the bottom of the row. Good. That's round one. We're getting a little bit of work. We're getting a little sweaty. Grab your drink if you need to. Wipe off your sweat if you're building up some sweat already. Light dumbbells today. Again, just focused mostly on our mobility and kind of exploring the end range of motion for our hips especially. But we are working a little bit, so we want to keep hydrated and working through these rounds. So we'll do a few more rounds of our workout block. So again, we're just exploring those end range of motion, especially on our squat, on those tall plank step-ins, feeling what our hips are doing, trying to increase that range of motion as best we can. We got a few more rounds. We'll hammer straight through here, and we're about ready to go. That was our break time, so we're going to start back at the top with our squat with the press out. So heavy dumbbell right under our chin as we sink into that big squat, really driving our knees out, exploring that bottom end range of motion with the press. The press at the bottom nice and slow, making sure it's causing us to own our bottom squat position there and really work on our hips and glutes. So we're ready to go at the top again here with our squat press out. 3, 2, 1, and go. Clock is ticking. So we've got our squat position. Again, we're sinking really low. We've been working on that strength and our range of motion for our hips. And we do the press out and reverse it. So big press, full extension, and back to the top. Take the press out nice and slow. That's the point of being down here in this bottom portion of the squat for a long time. So it's going to force us to train our squat from the bottom up and own that range of motion for our hips and our shoulders and our T-spine, which need to be in a little bit of extension to keep us upright here in the bottom portion of the squat. So one more rep. And good. Okay. We are going to take our light dumbbells again. We've got our scaption. Arms come out in like a V position again. So we're going at about a 45-degree angle, V's. So we think about this as thumbs up as well. So we start here, close by, right inside our hips. We go up like that, thumbs up to the sky, about 45 degrees. Squeezing those shoulder blades, keep our core tight, nice and strong and tall. Big, tall shoulders and chest. Just up to the eye level for that scaption, eye or shoulder level, spreading out at the top in that V position in our scapular plane, and bringing them close in at the hip. So the bottom of the dumbbells might touch at the bottom here. That's okay. We go thumbs up to the sky, pointing out. Hold it there for just a second. Shoulders are working harder than you might have thought on this one, especially if we're getting that good hold. We've got 5 seconds. We got time for 1 or 2 more. Let's get 1 more rep in here as our timer expires. Right there, there's our beep. Good. We're going to go back down on our mat for the squeeze press. Flat on our back here. And again, we're pushing our dumbbells together, or whatever we have. If we have 1 dumbbell, we're just going to squeeze our hands together on the side there. There's our timer. So we're doing our best to push palms together. Weight doesn't matter quite as much here as just the tension, constant tension on our chest by pushing our palms together and working through this range of motion at the chest. Keeping that tension as high as we can. Keep squeezing, nice and slow, all the way through this range of motion as best you can. And if you just want to focus on a squeeze, get about halfway there, finish out the timer, and really just focus on squeezing. 2 seconds left, squeeze it out, and relax. Great job. Feeling that chest working hard, even though we have a light amount of weight there. We're going to our pullover sit up. So let's get that heavy dumbbell again, or heavy object, whatever you have. Starting in our extended position, and we're pulling over to eye level or right above our head and then going into a sit up for a little bit of strength in our core. Slow and controlled for that extension up overhead. Slow and steady here. Keep that core really active as we go overhead for the extension. And then of course the core's got to work hard to drive that weight up overhead as well. Last rep here, pull over and our crunch, drive it all the way up, slow and controlled on the way back down. Great job. We've got our bridge next. So again, we got that light dumbbell if you want to, right on your hips for the bridge. Other than that, we can keep just our bridge by itself with no weight. And we're up, ready to march here. So keeping the bridge tight is difficult here. Core and glutes gotta squeeze really hard. And we're working on just a slow march, making our hips really work in all aspects of this today here. And of course, if we don't want to march, we're just going to bridge with the weight or without the weight. Just working on big squeezes with our glutes, keeping our core tight, driving our knees outward, external rotation at the hip. Reset your bridge if you need to. Keep the core really tight. Slow as you can with the march, doing your best. Good. Break time from our bridges. We are going to kick our weights to the side. And we've got our tall plank with the step in. A little bit more work for our chest. 2 seconds to go. More work for our core as well. And we're just stepping into that palm as close as we can go. Working on that hip range of motion. Stretching hips, glutes, hamstring. A little bit of everything here. So just slow steps as close as you can get up to that palm on each side. Try and get that foot flat, own that position. We're still feeling some stretching and stuff, getting a little bit more mobile every rep. Hips are moving, working hard. Our chest and shoulders are getting a little fatigue as well from holding us up, right? Core's working hard. 7 seconds, we got time for 1 or 2 more steps there, and another step. Good. We're back up on our feet for these last 2 again, including our tibialis raise, our front shin raise. So we're going back to our wall or our countertop, anything that we can lean on. Weight is in our heels, and we are raising toes up off the ground. Squeezing at the top there, feeling a big contraction along our shin. Great exercise for training shin splints here as well for any runners. We've got to work on this tibialis muscle there on the front of our shin. So working on slow and controlled up on the way up and on the way down. Starting to get a little fatigue. We got 15 seconds. Stick with it if you can. We've got our bent over row with fly with the light dumbbells. Working on that shoulder stability. 1 more toe raise there, and relax, good. Back to our dumbbells, light dumbbells here. We've got our bent over row, kicking out into the fly, and then back to the starting position. So we're in the row, tucked, big squeeze, and we just extend straight out. Okay, so we're hinged in that bent over row position. The clock is ticking, so we squeeze, and then go for that extension. Really working the back muscles and the shoulders there. It's tough to go for the full extension of the arms, so row up and squeeze and then just go out as far as we can go comfortably. Keep tension on the back muscles and then reset it. Do your best. It's okay to have that soft bend at the elbow. Get that as much extension as you can. We have that break in the wrist, so the tension shouldn't be in our wrists. Keep the tension in our back and elbows. Working hard here, big squeeze for the row. Extend it out there, break at the wrist. 5 seconds, big squeeze, extend out there, and slowly lower back to the bottom. Great job. 2 rounds through that workout block. We're gonna run through 2 more rounds of that and we'll finish up. And that will be it we got today. So we're taking about another 30 seconds or so here. Grab your drink if you need it. wipe sweat if we're building up a little bit of a sweat. We're not working as hard as we might do in our typical strength class, but we are still putting in some effort here, working on our mobility and a little bit of strength. So take that towel, wipe your sweat if you need to, grab a quick drink. We got 2 more rounds to go, and we'll be all set. That next round's gonna start in about 5 seconds or so, so grab your weight. Here we go, we're back to that squat, so we are owning our bottom portion of the squat. Our clock's gonna tick at 3, 2, 1, and go. So we're really squatting down, driving those knees out. When we get to the bottom, we gotta hold it, press that weight out, and come back up. Slow and controlled, especially when we get to the bottom. Pause there, press that weight all the way out, bring it back up. Nice and slow. Hips are working hard here. About 10 seconds to go. And that's our last one. We got 1 second, we'll stop right there. Okay, get those light dumbbells back. We've got our scaption. Thumbs up, driving out into that V position. Starting narrow at the hips. Extending out wide, there's our timer. Extend out wide into that V, bring them back in. Keeping your shoulder blades squeezed down and back. Keeping your core tight, active core there. We're working hard. 15 seconds. We're feeling our shoulders and shoulder blades fatigue a little bit. Keep doing it. Take a break at the bottom if you need to. Let that fatigue wear off. This is tough. We're working those small stabilizer muscles here. They are easy to fatigue. There's our break. All right, we're down on our mat. We've got our squeeze press with the light dumbbells. Keeping the tension high on our chest through the whole time. Squeezing as best we can. So we are pushing those palms together, slow and controlled. The rep count doesn't matter, we're on a timer, so just working more on the squeeze to keep our chest tension high and just contracting the muscle through all those different ranges of motion. So keep the squeeze high, slow and controlled, up and on the way down as well, so that our contraction happens through the full muscle body, full range of motion. We're still pressing as hard as we can. We have some weight on the dumbbell, so that helps, but our goal is the constant tension from pressing our palms together, keeping those pecs active. So keep pushing, keep squeezing those pecs. They're getting really tired. We're fighting through. Good, there's our break. We'll toss the small weights aside. We've got our dumbbell pullover with the sit up coming up. So get that heavy object that you got today. Starting in that extension, legs are out straight, and we pull over with the tight core, and then sit it up. Make sure we keep our tight core all the way through that extension, soft bend at the elbow. We're getting a good stretch on our lats as well as those abdominals. Slow and controlled is the key here. We got 10 seconds. Let's get 1 or 2 more reps in here. Nice and slow. Tap, pull over, drive that weight up. Core is working hard, and relax all the way down. We're going back and forth between big and small weights, so grab that small weight again if we want it for your bridge. Bring those feet up. We're going to bridge into our march, so a little bit of weight at our hips. There's our timer, so we're bridged up. A little bit of weight in the hips, and we are marching, keeping our glutes and core as tight as we can. Still working on these hips today. Reset the bridge if you need to. Feel free to drop the weight and just bridge with your body weight. Take the marching out, just do some bridge reps here. Still just working on hips and glutes. Keep them squeezed. Keep those hips externally rotating at the top, a little bit of that bridge. Keep marching. Good. We're tossing our dumbbells to the side. We're going to come back to our tall plank with the step-ins, working on these hips. We're going to have really flexible hips by the end of this. Hopefully here we're almost there. Stepping in as high as we can go. Get that foot to fully rest on the ground. Own that position. Feel the stretch and the separation in our hips. And switch. So our chest and shoulders still getting some work here, holding us in our tall plank as well. And you know our core has to be active as well during this. So keep that core tucked in, 20 seconds to go. Keep stepping. Tension high on the chest. Hips are waking up, hopefully. If they haven't already, we're almost there. They should be feeling loose by now. 3 seconds, last step. And there's our break. Up on our feet, let's get back to that wall. We've got our tibialis raises. So we're ready to go. Weight is in our heels, curling those toes up, flexing our toes up off the ground, rolling onto the heels. So pause at the top, get a big squeeze. Feel that squeeze in the top of our shin there. $15 seconds. Keep driving those heels up. Driving those toes up, going onto your heels. Big squeeze. Feel the front of our legs start to fatigue. You got 3 seconds. Let's get one more rep in. Good. Grabbing those light dumbbells once more. I'm going to wipe a little sweat. Grab a drink if you need to. We're grabbing those light dumbbells one more time quickly here for that row with the fly extension. So we're in our bent over position here. We're squeezing a big row squeeze. Extend the arms out and reset the row. Big squeezes in the shoulder blades. Let those wrists break. Don't have to fully extend the arm. Lead with the elbow. Portion of that right is what we want to think about. So we have our elbow higher than the wrist. Big squeeze in the shoulder blades. The last one. Relax. Back down to reset and break. Okay. Great job. We got one more round. We're going to finish through. We are getting a little work in. Wipe your sweat if you need to. Take a quick drink. We are going to finish up our last round here in about 20-30 seconds. One more time through, starting with that big squat at the top. Squat with the press out at the bottom, so we're really making those hips work. We're going to do our best. We got 15 seconds before we start that, so really sink it into the squat, drive those knees out, making sure we're keeping our chest and shoulders nice and tall. We've got that thoracic spine extension that we're working with today. We're going to start that in 3, 2, 1, and clock is ticking. Our last round of squat with the press, so wide base, sinking down into that squat as low as we can go. Slow press to make sure we're really focused on owning that bottom squat position. Hips are working hard today. Keep the chest and shoulders tall as well, especially during that press out. We're working on our T-spine as well as our hips here. So last press out, finish the squat at the top, and there's your timer. Great job. Grab those small dumbbells. We've got our Scaption one more time through. Starting close at the bottom, up into a nice open V position at the top. We think about this as thumbs up when we're holding these dumbbells. So right now I should have 2 thumbs up to the sky in that V position. We come right back down. Core and shoulder blades are tight, of course. Big squeeze in those shoulder blades at the top. These are fatiguing. They're tough, right? We got all those little stabilizers in the shoulder working hard. Doing good. Try and get that pause at the top, thumbs up. You got less than 15 seconds to go. Keep working through here. Got 5 seconds. Let's get one more nice, strong pause at the top. Up into that V, hold it, and relax. Back down. Awesome job. Keep these light dumbbells in hand. We're doing our squeeze press. Down on the mat. Tension in the chest is high, so we're just pushing these dumbbells together as hard as we can. Keeping lots of tension in the chest, squeezing those dumbbells together, slowly working through the range of motion. And if you don't want to work through the range of motion, you just want to find one spot and just do a little pulse if you want, or just focus on the squeeze only. Just driving those palms together as best you can. Slowly but surely moving up and down, full range of motion during this contraction. Finish it out by squeezing it. We got less than 10 seconds. Just focus on pushing those dumbbells together. Squeezing, squeezing, squeezing. We're going to toss our light dumbbells to the side now. Get that heavy dumbbell back over here. We've got our pullover with the sit up next. One more time through. Kick those legs out in front of you. Core is tight. There's our timer, so we get our extension. Keep the core tight, tucked in, all the way into that sit up. Drive it up overhead. Slow and steady here. About 15 seconds left. 1 or 2 more good reps. All the way up and down. Full extension. Soft bend at the elbow. Tap that dumbbell. Drive it all the way up to the sky. We got 3 seconds. Get that last extension in there. And relax our heavy dumbbell. We've got our bridge with the march, so we're grabbing our light dumbbell once more. Last time through, sitting it on the hips. Bring our heels in for our bridge, and we're bridging up, tight core, tight glutes, and we're marching our last marching round here. Just hold the bridge if you need to. Reset your bridge if you must. If we're getting fatigued, hopefully you can hold it out. Just try and hold the bridge if you need to. Take out the march, remove the dumbbell, do your best, whatever you can do to finish out the round. It's our last time through on the bridge. Keep pushing. Good, last one on the march. Great job. 3 minutes left. We're coming back into our tall plank march, or our tall plank step in rather, excuse me. One more time to keep our chest and shoulders working hard. And our hips, of course, as well. Stepping into that palm. Hold it there for a second. Try and get that foot nice and stable and flat on the ground there. Feeling a good stretch, separation in our hips and groin. 2 rounds to go after this. 90 seconds left. Ten seconds to go. Keep stepping. Got one more step on each leg there. Last step. Get that foot up there and relax. Awesome job. Up on our feet last time. Get to your wall or your counter, whatever you're leaning on. We've got to get our tibialis raised. One more time for the shins here. Pressure's in our heels. Rolling those toes up to the sky. Weight in the heels, so we're getting good squeeze in the front of our shins here. Big pause at the top there for a second or two. Feeling those front shin muscles working really hard there. Starting to fatigue, do your best. Squeeze those toes up. 12 seconds to go, we got a couple reps left. Five seconds, get one more big pull and squeeze. Maybe two, we'll do one bonus rep. There's our timer. Nice job, front of those shins are starting to get tired. We got our last one on the clock here. Grab those light dumbbells again. We've got our row, bent over row with the light dumbbells. Big squeeze into that fly extension. Elbows should be our highest point there, so break the wrists, allow those wrists to hang just a little bit. Squeeze, extend. Shoulders are working really hard here. Core is tight, hinge position as normal, flat back. 25 seconds. Extending out to the side with that break in the wrist. High elbows. Big squeeze in the shoulder blades. One more circuit all the way through. That's our last row. Extend out. We got 3 seconds and close at the bottom. Awesome job, guys. That was our 4 rounds. We're going to just take a quick 30-second Cobra stretch. Get a lot of our body stretched out here. I'm sorry, a child pose. 30 seconds on the clock here. Just sinking down onto our heels here, stretching palms out in front of you. We'll go for a little over 30, probably 30, 45 seconds. So just sinking onto the heels, blow your air out, relaxing our upper body, shoulders, chest, everything we just worked on really hard. Hips are getting a nice little stretch here as well. Hold for about 20 more seconds. Big breath in and out, let your head hang down towards the back. Sink back farther onto those heels if you can. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and come on back forward into the tabletop position there. That was just our quick stretch to end our circuit. Feel free to keep stretching if you need to. We didn't work too hard, but if you feel like we're a little tight still and the hips are back, you can keep going through a little more stretches. Do another child pose for a few seconds there. Stretch out those shoulders and back if you need to. Otherwise, that was our mobility and more. We did a big focus on our hips today and a little bit of thoracic spine mixed in there. So hope you guys enjoyed today's class. I hope we're feeling loose in our shoulders, mid-back, especially down here in these hips. So I love hearing from you guys. So drop me a comment below. Let me know what you thought about today's class. Hopefully we're feeling nice and loose. Don't forget your water. If you sweat today, we want to replenish that hydration. Hope to see you back in the fitness center soon. And until then, we'll see you right here on our YouTube channel. I'm Scott at Aspiria Fitness Center. We'll see you next time.